listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katie Van Horn.
Hello, this is Katie Van Horn, and this is the Inclusive AF podcast.
Love that. I'm Jackye Clayton. Okay,
It
maybe
sounds-
the pause thing's excessive. You're right.
No, I think we should continue to do it. I feel like I'm like, is it Chandler Bing from Friends?
Yeah.
It was always the had the pause, the pregnant pause, if you will.
There's
If you
always
will.
room for Jello.
There's always, oh no, you can't quote him anymore. Okay. Oh, speaking of, so did you watch the Kamau Bell? We've got to talk about Cosby thing.
Yes.
Holy Hannah. Okay, so all right.
Did you watch
folks.
it?
All right, folks, here we go. So Jackye and I had to press record because we started talking, and then I was like, no, no more talking. No
I
more
know.
talking. We have
As
a
soon as it gets
podcast.
good, we have to record it. So I might end up eating popcorn and grabbing a beer in the middle of this, only because it just feels that way. This is Jackye and Katie on 11.
That's about right. So we had started before we pressed record to talk about the Ketanji Brown Jackson confirmation hearing. It's Ketanji. Am I saying that right? Okay.
Mhm.
And the 95-day situation. I did like that there. I've heard, I mean, obviously social media is blowing up with just all the fun things and all of the stupidity of this hearing. But I
Yes.
think my favorite one was do you think that at some point she's going to break down and start crying and talking about she had too much beer in college or whatever?
No. Right?
and-
Yeah.
And the answer
Right.
is no, she will not.
No.
So what are your thoughts? Have you been paying attention to this, or what's your
I'm fully triggered. It really is like a PTSD moment of the things that not PTSD. It's really just the trauma that you go through just being a Black woman in business when you have like a majority group and sitting there, and it's like, why are you really questioning me right now? And why are you questioning me about something of which you have no idea? Like, you have no clue. It's amazing that you're sitting here analyzing me for my background, which I get, you should. But let's, if we flip the script on half those people, it's like, nice. So I mean, I've been watching, but as soon as people have been talking about her last year when Biden started saying, he's gonna have a Black woman on the Supreme Court as a Supreme Court justice. It's like, okay, let's, people were doing the math, like how many would even be potentially considered. And her track record is gorgeous.
Yes. And so did you see the visual of like the experience that she has versus the experience that other folks on the Supreme Court have?
Correct.
It was like a visual, and I'm not going to find it right now, of course.
It's like beneath her to be a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, right. Oh, here it is. Okay. So it's like how does she stack up? And I will make sure that we post this in the show notes. But it's how she stacks up from an experience perspective against other Supreme Court justices. And
That's
so
right.
like she has like all the experience. She like compared to like the only thing that the rest of them have in common, of course, is Ivy League law school,
That's
other
right.
than Amy Coney Barrett.
Which-
and that's a whole nother.
Yep. Sigh.
But it is very fascinating because it's also like the public defender piece, like she's had these experiences that no other Supreme Court justice has, which is also just really fascinating to me because it's like how this will actually impact this group, how this will, impact just the decisions from the Supreme Court. But
what it touched my heart that they were a public defender. I mean, I in my limited knowledge, because I've never had to hire a Supreme Court justice. I was like, I'm good. The fact that you went from, Harvard to being a public defender, already coming from underrepresented, underrespected group. And like, I find it fascinating how, like I said, like she's better than all the Supreme Court justice people.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and so anyways, like it just is, it's very, very fascinating. And then I think it's also this, the different folks that are interviewing her, and some of them, you're just like, your racism is showing. Your racism is showing. Well, yeah, Ted Cruz and Graham, what's his name? Lindsey Graham.
Yep.
Like, you're like, you should probably sit down and be quiet because you're racism. But I guess actually, you know what? It's working for them.
Nope.
So clearly, maybe they don't need to do that. I just want this to be over, and I want her to be, what I don't even know. Like, what is they have to actually approve it, right? Or no?
Yeah. They do. They'll take it to a vote. And if it goes with party lines, then she'll be fine. The only question is going to be, excuse me, because she'll have a majority vote. And then the other part is, will she win the hearts and minds of others? I think my favorite picture though was of her parents. Did you see there was a picture of her parents? Yes. And I will share it, and we'll put this in the show notes because it's beautiful. If I can find it, of her parents just smiling on watching her testify was adorable.
Right.
Just adorable. And it just goes to show, like,
oh, yes, I see them.
Yeah. Adorable.
But also, like, they raised a badass.
Truth.
That's what matters. Look at that.
Look at Daddy's face.
Anyhow. All right. Okay. So hopefully we get through this without many more painful moments. I just,
I doubt it.
P.S. I doubt it also. P.S. I should stop talking because it's just going to get worse. But hopefully we can get through that process and get her on the court quickly and be done with this madness. And now, okay. And then next thing I want to talk about, and I'm just throwing out all my topics, but I know you have topics too. Can we talk for a moment about Brittany Griner?
Oh, yes. You're just pulling out all the things. When are we going to get to the fun things?
I know. I'm sorry. Well, okay. So I want to ask your thoughts. So she is one of ours, meaning she is a Phoenix Mercury. I don't know if you know this.
Yes. Tell the people, like, she's a professional basketball player for the Phoenix Mercury, WNBA, in case people didn't know. And she's both of ours because she played college at Baylor University.
And she's like a Sikkim Bears. But she's also like a multiple gold. Hasn't she has won gold as part of Team USA, right? Of course, Wikipedia is not pulling up. There we go. ESPY award. Yes. Okay. Victory at Rio Olympics. So yes. Okay. So my question to you, what are your thoughts on her being detained? What are your thoughts on her having paraphernalia? Let's say, can we say paraphernalia? Would that be right?
That's fair.
What are your thoughts on all these things?
I think it's stupid. Is that good? Is that scientific?
And done. All right, so we can move on to the next topic.
Well, it's typical. I mean, I think what is important to me and what I always say, like as I'm screaming into the wind, is this is exactly why we have to say Black Lives Matter. Because they don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's sitting over there detained. Nobody's doing anything about it. It was a very limited, whatever the amount, wasn't it oil or something? Like, whatever it was, like, it's a small amount. We could be doing something and we're not. And then people are like, how does a person just vanish? But I know, like, this is there's that part of the story, but then there are other Black people who like are trying to like get safety during this time from Ukraine that aren't being allowed into Poland because they're Black as well. People don't believe that they're really from Ukraine.
Ukrainians, yeah. Yeah, so it was a vape cartridge or cartridges that contained oil derived from cannabis. So here's my thing. Come on now. Why are you carrying that with you through a communist country? That was not very smart.
That too.
I will give, I will say, come on now. But my second piece is I'm glad that the embassy, the folks in the US embassy have been able to see her and actually have visual of her to make sure she's okay and she's in good health and all that stuff, because that is one of the things that I worry about. She is a Black lesbian in Russia. Like, that's not a winning combination for that country. And so I just am very scared for her. And so I hope that she makes it back safely and that everything is resolved. But they said she is looking at up to 10 years in prison for this. So it's also just like, yikes. It's just,
but here's the thing, like, this is what's important. And this was really important from MSNBC that explained, do you know the maximum that you can get as a player on the WNBA is $228,000 a year? And they were like, she should never have had to go. She's going so she can earn money.
Yes. Which goes back to, and we can actually talk about the women's soccer as well, like the discrepancy in pay. And if one more person is like, oh, well, they just don't have as big of a market. Yeah, because they haven't been given as big of a market to be exposed to and have access to and all of these other things. So
but the women's soccer team has a bigger market. Like, they have more people going.
And they're better. They're better.
Yeah. They've actually made it to the World Cup. I don't know if anybody, there's this event thing.
Small details. Small details.
So, I mean, it goes into, recognizing that, sports, the way they've set up salaries in sports is just twisted. It's just absolutely twisted. But you do have to look at those things. Like, they should have never had to go there in the first place. But now that they're there, it's like, what are we going to do? They said, I think right now they're going to do another 2 months. She's going to be detained.
At least. But it's 2 more months that she's going to be detained, like, before they have a trial or anything.
Right.
So it's and that can be postponed ad nauseum, like as many times they want, I think. So anyway, so sending good thoughts to her and her family and hoping that she makes it home safely quickly.
Yep. Gosh.
Okay. The topic we started talking about, Bill Cosby. So you did watch the Kamau Bell.
I did, like, all the way straight through.
Yeah, same. And holy Hannah Batman. Did you know it was that many women?
No.
I didn't either. Like, that was so shocking to me. But I think the other part that was like, just kind of gave me the shivers, if you will, was like how many, what are they called in commercials when they have like little things that are what it's called, like You know what I'm talking about? Like the nuts, they're called like raspberries or something like that, where it's like they leave a little something in a commercial or in whatever it is, and that like
Oh,
gives you
like
a
an Easter egg.
Easter egg. That's the word I'm searching for. Thank you. How many Easter eggs were in the Cosby Show and like in his whole career? And like he's doing these interviews and like basically saying, "This is how I get women," and everyone's like, "Ha ha ha."
Yeah.
He literally said, "This is what I do."
Yeah. He talked about Spanish Fly and from forever. I think that's what's the scariest thing about watching the documentary was seeing it pass forward the timeline. Like, okay, this is what was happening, and these are the women, and it just kept going and going and going.
And there was no stop to it at all. Did you were you a watcher of the Cosby Show? Like, did you watch that growing up? Yeah.
Yeah, religiously.
Okay. Yeah, same. And that was like one of the shows that my parents were like okay with us watching because there were a few that we weren't allowed to watch, but it was this family show and it was such a good family. And I mean, and I remember like it was hilarious, but it was also you wanted to go be part of that family because they were so cool and did dances together. And I think that's the other piece that is just everyone could relate to the Cosby family and like wanted to be a part of that family. Okay. Any thoughts? Any other additional comments, thoughts on the Cosby?
I think I was glad to get the whole story out there and give some of these women their voice. But I think like that's the part that we keep stressing about. This is way pre-Me Too movement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's amazing that a lot of these things were sparked. This was sparked, with the comedian that brought it up and talked about it. But then during the same time of the Me Too movement of having people brought forward, I just feel like it's sad. And I feel like everybody acts like they're shocked. I mean, we're shocked because it's Bill Cosby, but it's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, we had just talked recently about advocacy, and I wish people could advocate for themselves and that we could start learning and teaching people on their value. And it's so sad in the way that we are as a society, like of what we put value on like money or fame or whatever, more important than the actual person. I just feel it just made me sad.
Right. I agreed. And I think so. Hannibal Buress is the comedian that brought it up in the show. And even he was in the documentary. He was like, oh, I was kind of surprised it like took off because I thought this was just like a well-known thing. And you heard people like from the set of the Cosby Show and other shows, they were like, well, yeah, that just was kind of what happened is the women would get paraded into his office. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like,
right.
That's and I continue to be amazed by those stories where you're like, how could that be possible? How could it, continue to happen and no one say anything or do anything? But to your point, it's the money, fame. I want to be cool. I want to be part of the in crowd, whatever it might be, versus looking at the human on the other side of it that is being raped or being just very bad things happening. And it continued like it's literally we can talk to, I guarantee, and we didn't ask, maybe we should, and I don't want to ask that question actually now that I'm just talking out loud. I almost want to ask people like in your professional setting, have there been jokes? Have there been things and like get people's response on if they've had that experience? Because I would guarantee most women in our age group can give you multiple examples of times that they were put in uncomfortable situations or worse. And like how that impacts you longer term and in just your professional life.
I think it's one of the things that stood out to me was that sex therapist Sonali I don't remember what her last name is, but her name was Sonali, and in there said like he's America's dad, but America has a rape problem. And that's where it comes down to. And there was another quote from her where she said, you know, if you ask women if they've been raped, the majority say yes, but then you're forgetting, you know, this happened by somebody. It's almost like you should ask people, have you ever raped anybody?
Yes.
And I almost fell flat on the floor.
Yes. Well, that question, I was like, holy hand. I mean, that was a gut punch moment because you were like, it's like, that is the right question to ask. Not that anyone would or would admit to doing that, but yeah, who's doing it? Stop asking women, start asking men.
Yeah.
Anyways. So that was, I liked learning more about it because I did not know. I knew that like he had been accused of multiple rapes. I did not know it was the numbers that it was. So I feel like I'm more informed about it, but I'm also like the fact that the deposition that he gave that they said, oh, we're not going to use this to prosecute you is now the reason why he's out of jail. Like that's also where I'm like, our court system, our legal system is so jacked up.
Right. It's the same. Like, this is exactly why we need to have like people with different experiences and different thoughts and different backgrounds, because it's those same people, you know, that we're saying that don't have these experiences that make all these decisions that are like, oh, you know, it's not that bad, or, you know, I didn't mean it, or it's over now and you have to get over it. Or what was that guy? It was just a couple minutes in one of those like rape cases where it was like, I don't think we should punish him for the rest of his life for like, you know, 15 minutes.
That was the Stanford one, the Stanford swimmer, whatever.
Swimmer,
or no,
yeah.
Was he a swimmer? Was whatever he was. But yeah, and that
he was
woman,
a rapist, and he got off. Yeah. He didn't have
to summarize. But the young woman is going to carry that with her entire life as well. So she's being punished, but that's okay.
Right.
That part's fine. So Jackye, we haven't actually like talked in a while. And so I feel like there's so many things. This is what happens, folks, is that we get busy with the rest of our lives and forget that we have a podcast.
Jobs now. We both have big grown-up jobs.
We're both adults officially. Unfortunate. I'd like to go back to grade school or something like it. Okay, there was just a dog running down the road and a car driving beside it. I don't know if that's safe or not. I don't think it doesn't
Probably
seem
not.
safe.
Probably not.
And it wasn't like here, I'm going to chase you to get you. It just was like some person driving down the street and a black dog running beside.
One way to exercise. I mean, I don't feel like taking my dog on a walk. Maybe.
Sometimes. But there wasn't like a leash, Jackye. It was just running randomly. I don't know if it was trying to get away. Okay, so what else has been going on in your world? Oh, I know what I want to ask you, because you said this the other day on your coffee talk with John Baldino.
Yes.
You were talking about Textio still being a startup. So my question to you is, when does a startup become a big boy company, a big girl company?
I don't know. I ask myself that question every day. It has to do with like being responsible for your own money.
Yeah.
When you have private equity or venture capitalist money, like it's when you own yourself and you're not owned, I think, officially.
Okay. So let's talk about that, because GoDaddy was privately held, and then we got some money from VCs. And so then we were not owned by one person or, you know, an entity. So, but that was, you know, 20 years later. So is that a startup?
That counts. I think you have too many. No, you already have a business established. You already have your products established. You have your marketing team. You have all the different things that are going on. And I think it's like, for me, I just feel like sometimes it's more scrappy. I don't know. I should Google it.
Yeah. Like I don't know that there's like a right definition or not. I'm just curious what your thoughts were, because like I think of Textio as a well-established company. And yeah, they
I
have
mean, I
funders
guess
still.
like technically, I'm looking at Investopedia, and it
What do they
says,
tell
like,
us?
they say a startup is a company in the initial stages of business, of which we're not. Founders normally finance their startups and may attempt to attract outside investment. Funding sources include family, friends, venture capitalists, crowdfunding, and loans. Maybe we're a startup just because startups come with a high risk of failure, and it's possible that they can be unique places to work with great benefits and a focus on innovation and great opportunities to learn.
Okay, but you're not at risk of not succeeding.
I know, but everybody is. I mean, like every startup.
Okay.
I think it's like we're finding our feet and building who we are. Like we're not done. And, there's some products like they have one product and then they're done.
Mhm.
But I think for us, we're like looking at being like multi-product. And it's like, what is this the best? Maybe it's because of the innovation is like, I think our goal of having people communicate better and use more inclusive language, I don't know if we're ever going to be done, but I think there will be a point where it's like, okay, I think we have enough tools that we can take someone from a hire to retire communication internally. So who knows when that will be.
Okay, that's fair. But I also would say, like, product wise, I mean, I know so many companies that have one product.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, is In-N-Out Burger a startup?
No,
I'm just saying.
I'm going to ask. I have not asked Google another question.
Please, GTS, baby, GTS. Okay. So what are my other questions for you today?
It's just the Jackye interview. Are you
AMA.
interviewing me?
AMA. Ask Jackye anything.
Oh, wait. You are no longer defined of a startup if you have revenue which exceeds 50 million, have 100 or more employees, and have had a value of 500 million or more. So I guess like
you're not a startup.
In like 360 days, we will not be a startup.
How many people work at Textio?
113. But
exactly.
It was a combo. It wasn't just one.
Whatever.
It was a combo. It was
all I'm saying is please let Kieran know.
We only got to 46.9 million. So until we get to like 50.
Okay, in a minute. Yeah.
That's why I said within the 365 days.
I'm just asking also because I'm in a startup. So I'm also just asking for my own personal knowledge.
Startup.
I'm at a baby company.
Brand new, like
baby company.
You don't even have the fuzz anymore on yet.
No.
Startup. How's that feeling?
Awesome. Like I love that you're talking about dandelions when I have like grass behind me, because
I'm trying to make you feel fit into the background,
fit into my natural background that's going on here. It feels good. I'm definitely working on some imposter syndrome business, that comes up, I think for me a little bit on just like, am I doing the right thing? Because like I am such a worrier about people. And so I get like, I'll say something and then I'll be like, oh my God, did I do that right? Did I say that right? Was this right? Whatever. So I'm good. I'm just trying to keep my people good as well. But I'm doing some fun stuff with like culture and values. And like the part that I love is that we are very intentionally still keeping our, if we're just looking at male female ratio, we have a 50-50 split on gender. And from a diversity of race and ethnicity, we have a good mix. Age, we're gonna have to work on a little bit. I think I'm one of the older people. When our last guest was talking about being Gen Z, I think Jackye and I both were internally going, yeah, we're gonna be Gen X. It just is what it is.
Yeah, fully. I was thinking about, that's funny, if we had a company that was just like ran by Gen X, it would be interesting if everybody, I have worked at companies where I think it's been pretty close, all Gen X.
Yep. And
So
it's
much easier.
well, you betcha.
Yep.
I don't think that, but I also like, I am so that person that I'm like, I don't see that many differences in generations. Like everyone wants to have impactful work. They want to change the world. They want to do these things. So I don't know why I keep yawning, Jackye. I'm sorry.
Am I boring? Like I
No, I don't know what my problem is, but sorry. The generational conversation always like throws me off because I'm like, we all kind of want the same things. It's just how we go
Yes.
about doing it. But I also,
I think a
can't-
lot of it has to do with the age and not the generation. It's just
yeah. And how you were raised and like what you were taught or not taught. And like, I mean, I will look across my niece and nephews who are all Gen Y and Gen Z, depending on, which sibling they came from. And they're not much different other than like who their parents were and how their parents raised them. And I mean, I'm sure you can look at that across like your kids' friends as well. Like
yeah.
how they're raised is really the difference. But
Yes. I do think it's interesting. Like, I just feel like you just get to a certain age. I think disagree and commit is a lot easier when you're older.
yes.
Where it's like, yeah, I can fully do this. No, I disagree. I don't think this is the best frame of action, but I feel like you're most passionate. We'll try it out and we'll see how it goes. And I think that might just be an age thing.
Well, yeah, I think Gen X comes from that school of you could disagree behind closed doors with your peers, but once you go out and face the rest of the team,
That's right.
you're lockstep.
Yeah.
So,
but we also didn't have permanent records. I think that's the difference with like this generation.
Oh my gosh.
And now today, everything's a permanent record. Everything you've done, you've posted, you've talked about, and you have all those things online. Then everybody's like, 3 years ago, you said you wanted to blah, 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 insert whatever it is here.
Yeah, I probably, that is the part that scares me the most about like what you see online with all of these kids. But then also, yeah, it is thank God. Thank God. And we'll just leave it at that, my friend.
Yes.
What else you got? What else you got, Jackye?
Well, I had a big tree that got cut down and that was crazy.
Oh, yes. So what is the end result of that? Is it just a stump?
No, it's a big long stump, but I am glad that we took it down. I like it that part is done because then we had, last past week tornadoes. And so the tree was going to come down. We just paid for it to be in advance and didn't wait for it to like knock down our power lines. I mean, we had to chop down the tree.
Okay, wait a minute. Did you really have tornadoes?
Yeah, like not here in Waco. We had it like they were up the street.
Oh,
like
okay.
in Killeen, like Round Rock, and also they had them in Dallas. And we had major windstorms and thunderstorms this past week.
We had windstorms here in Arizona, but nothing like that. That seems a little crazy town.
It was a full event, like people closing early, like get home. There could be we had the alarms that went off.
Oh yeah.
The tornado alarms went off.
So what's one diversity, equity, and inclusion lesson that you learned this week?
Don't hire racist bigots.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, wait, this week? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is that it's not something that I learned this week, but something that I've been seeming to have to explain to a lot of people, not necessarily inside my own organization, but just in general, is that inclusion does not mean vote by consensus, which is hard for people to understand. Like, no, like, we want everybody's voice to be heard, and we take those things into consideration of making a decision, but that wasn't a vote.
No.
Yeah.
And I like that. Mine this week is a little bit different. Mine is that I feel like this whole idea behind innovation, like diverse teams driving innovation, I think leaders are struggling, and we need to help them leverage the differences of their teams to create more innovation. Because I like, and it's the whole idea of like, if you build it, they will come situation. But when they get there, what do you do then? So like, once you have that diversity on your team, how do you actually do things the right way so people feel heard and listened to and like their ideas count? And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Not everyone has to have an opinion about everything and every opinion needs to be taken in consideration, but how do you leverage that diversity to like create cool stuff?
I think it only happens, but the thing that you have to build before you're able to build that is that psychological safety piece, or you'll never get the benefit of having a diverse teams and making it safe to share like an environment, a culture of feedback, not criticism, feedback, which is different, whole nother show, right? Of trying to get those pieces in, but is that encouraging, like, we have like really group team meetings on my team, and we ask people to share different things, and it's like, if money was no object, what would you do for the tool? How would you do this? What would you change? If money was no object and you can do a magic wand, how would you build this out? Because that's when you're going to start getting the opportunities. Like, there's no risk, like there's no, and I think what's also important is to give people an opportunity to speak without criticism, or like almost where that person gets to speak and you just encourage that person to keep talking. Like, it's like creating opportunities where this is not a space for feedback. I'm just letting you know what I would do about it. And feeling safe, like, this is what I would do. It's not a debate.
Right.
I'm just letting you know.
And that one's such an interesting one, because it's like the whole concept of brainstorming sessions have like flown out the window almost, where that's where it's the craziest idea wins almost. Like, you want people to have that like outside the box, don't worry about any like what the impact or implications or logistics are, just like come up with ideas. And having that space that no one goes, oh, that's too, or we already tried that, or that's too far outside of our bounds, or we shouldn't do that because of X, Y, and Z. And when you see that happen, like how cool it is to watch, because then people build off of each other and you get
put
to cool
in like
stuff.
It's fun. Yeah. If you implement a rule of during this brainstorming session, you can only talk about things if you agree, or you want things to move forward. You can only say positive things, because it's just as easy. There's people that look for negative things, and so you force people to look at positive things, and then it ends up becoming more fun. People will share more ideas. You can look at those things of innovation, and then it's like later you take that list and it's like, okay, out of this list, these are the things that are possible. How can we do these things? Right? Because that's the only way you can get it, is like, I don't know how much I want to share with you, because I'm afraid you're going to call me stupid, think I'm not appreciative of my job. It'll debunk me. You'll think I'm not in alignment with our company mission, like all of these different things. So I'm only going to give you a little piece. And then as soon as you cut me off, make fun of it, criticize me, then I'm not talking anymore.
Right. I was a part of a brainstorming session a few weeks ago, and the facilitator did that and was like, well, what do you really mean? What are you talking about? Or, well, that just seems really negative, or and it literally was like very hard to sit there, because I was not leading it. I was a participant, but not to be like, I thought we were just brainstorming here. Can we just brainstorm and let everyone have ideas? Because you realize that the folks that are maybe a little bit more reserved, or, maybe and only in the room, that they're going to not say a word if they think that they're going to get criticized or put down or be othered in that moment. So
it's like, make those safe zones where no one is allowed to share that information.
Yeah.
To share negative thoughts. It's only positive. I mean, and PS, I have had moments where I talk to people and I'm like, I'm not looking for any criticism. Like whatever is done is done. I just need positive vibes and support, please. I don't want to hear it.
But I think that's hard for people because you want to have a response. You want to be able to go, oh, well, have you thought about this? Or, oh, well, don't break it. Don't screw it up.
And then what you do is like, you have to turn that into your idea. Now that's your idea, not my idea.
Right.
That's how you get past. And that's what people need to learn in brainstorm sessions so that you can be innovative and they actually work.
Absolutely.
Like, don't fix my idea because you can't fix my idea because it's mine. You have to come up with your own idea. You can feed off the one that I just gave you, but you can't fix something that it's mine. Like you can't fix something that I actually came up with. Like, if we say, oh, let's have a party, and then you're like, oh,
you can't fix it.
A clown. It's like, no, this is my party and I don't want balloons or a clown.
Because clowns are freaky.
And there's that.
Yeah, no clowns allowed. And also, like, your idea is always the best. So, I mean, like, no one can improve on it. Also, so just kidding.
So instead of a criticism, just offer your own new idea.
Okay. What else? What else do we need to talk about right now? I feel
how are you doing? You moved recently into your new home. It's official.
Into the grass. I moved into the grass, so it's perfect. I actually just, as you were just speaking right now, Olive just came in for a quick visit. So this, the listeners do not, but my office and the house have two separate entrances, and my cats have not been allowed to be outside at the rental house because there was too much wildlife around there. Coyotes and little baby not mountain lions, whatever they're called. It doesn't matter. Cats, bigger cats, coyotes, javelina, all kinds of fun things, snakes. And so not mountain lions. What are they called? Bobcats.
Yes. Bobcats.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what is the Go Bobcats? Wasn't that your team? What are the Waco people? What's
Bears.
Baylor Bears. Sorry. What are the Waco people? What are they all about? Oh yes, Bears. Baylor Bears. Yes. Okay. So Miss Olive just peeked into the office. So she came out of the house and came to look and see what we were doing over here because Penny's asleep on the chair and I'm obviously talking to you. Folks, I do want to just give you a heads up, and this is actually mostly to hold Jackye accountable. Jackye promised that she was going to come and visit me in the next few weeks. And so you heard it here, folks. You are promising that you will come here, right, Jackye?
Yes, and then you'll be on our But First Coffee, and then we get to record live. We can record 25 hours of podcast.
We're going to do a LinkedIn Live for 24 hours straight, folks.
Kind of like a dance-a-thon.
Yeah. And we'll have some special guests on, like Penny and Olive and Opie. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, good chat. What's your one thing?
I just, can people just be nice? Why is that so hard?
No, I don't want people to be nice. I want people to be kind.
Okay. Yeah.
Because nice is fake. Nice is fake.
Yeah. If people could do that, I would like that.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's so many things going, I feel like people are trying to be when we have people being them best selves. I'm just going back to the just the Supreme Court justice and all of those little interviews, and it makes me think of regular employee interviews. I just get so sad. I feel like it's just a mini version of that, where there's things that can happen. We don't think about how we're talking to a person who has real life experiences. And I do want people to be kind and add kind candor. And then also with the brainstorm thing, it's like quit shitting on people's ideas. Like let people thrive and grow so that they can be their best selves. Like why? Just be nice.
Yes. Yes. Amen to all that you just said. Mine is spring has sprung.
I don't think that's a whole thing.
Yes, it is a thing. Spring has sprung. Because it's like not for us, because you and I, it's like been summer already. It's already like in the 80s. So like these are silly things to us. But that being said, if we all could kind of turn over a new leaf, a new tree, a new whatever you need to turn over to like chill out a little bit. I know gas prices are high.
Yeah.
I know there's like a dumpster fire situation going on pretty much everywhere in the world. But back, like kind of your thing on be kind, like everyone just needs to like take a minute to like take a breath. That's
right.
all I'm asking for. Everyone take a breath. But I also think we all need it from just a mental well-being perspective as well.
I do
too. That's why you need to come to Arizona.
I'm doing it.
Now there's a kid walking down the streets.
Oh, and with that,
Penny has something to say to you. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us on the Inclusive AF podcast. This is Katie Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton.
Bye.
Bye.